Shared widely on platforms like X and TikTok 700 years ago, just came alive in Jerusalem. Not symbolically, literally.
700 years of silence had just broken. Jerusalem woke under a sky too perfect, too still, as if creation itself had taken a breath and refused to let it go. Before the first prayer of dawn, something unseen began to move, a faint vibration rolling through the stones of the old city. At first, only one guard felt it. He pressed his hand to the western wall, thinking it was his imagination. Then another felt it, then dozens, then hundreds. Within minutes, the narrow streets filled with people. No bells, no announcements, no alarms, just motion, quiet and certain. They came in robes, in coats, in uniforms, in sandals and sneakers. Nobody told them to be there. Their feet simply obeyed something older than language. By 7 o'clock, nearly 2,000 stood shoulder to shoulder in a plaza made for half that number. No one shouted directions. No one asked why they had come. They only knew they must stand here, together, facing the wall that had seen every age rise and fall. The air thickened, not heavy, but full, the way air feels before thunder. Voices began to rise, bits of worship in French, Korean, English, Arabic, Hebrew. They did not clash, they merged. It was accidental harmony, sound built upon sound, until one deep tone filled the space, long and steady, enough to make hearts pound against ribs. Some later said they felt heat coming from the stones. Others said they felt movement, a heartbeat pulsing under their palms. A tourist whispered that she could feel the city breathing. A physicist visiting from Massachusetts said it reminded him of standing too close to a frequency too low to hear. Then, silence. Not the silence of ending, but the kind that hangs just before revelation. The world recorded no earthquake that morning. No instruments showed any movement, yet thousands stood trembling, certain that the city itself had spoken. Sarah Chen was among them, a historian passing through, not a believer, barely awake. A message had flashed onto her phone before dawn. 3 words, "Come to wall." No sender, no signature. She nearly deleted it, but something in her refused to stay in bed. When she reached the plaza, sunlight was washing over stone. She pushed through the crowd, stretched a hand forward, and touched the wall. Warmth spread through the limestone into her fingertips. For a moment, she thought the stone pushed against her hand in return. She whispered a question that made no sound, and felt an answer in the rhythm of that pulse beneath her skin. North of the city, Rachel Stein was on her knees at a dig site near Dan. She and her students were charting ancient water channels when a shovel hit metal. They brushed away dirt and found bronze, thick and coiled, shaped by deliberate hands. The surface was detailed, the head carved into a serpent with open mouth and visible fangs. Underneath the coils ran ridges that, when cleaned, formed a pattern. Later, they would realize the pattern matched a fragment in Genesis that warned of a coming deception. 3 discoveries in one morning. 0 coincidence. What if Jerusalem had not summoned the world that morning? What if the ground itself had called? For generations, people treated prophecy as metaphor, comfortable stories from long ago. But prophecy does not sleep, it waits. When the right moment arrives, history bends to meet its words. The Bible calls that moment kairos. The world calls it a coincidence. Heaven calls it the schedule. The crowd at the wall trembled. Soldiers on duty stopped speaking. Somewhere over the Mount of Olives, the sun released a sharp golden light that ran down across the plaza. Every scattered murmur turned into one great sound. A human note so deep it seemed the earth hummed in answer. 3 miles away, the bronze serpent answered that hum. Rachel Stein looked up. The object vibrated against the tools beside it. The students froze. The air in the trench quivered though there was no wind. For 40 seconds the coil rang with a tone lower than hearing, then fell quiet when the light reached full day. At that same heartbeat, Jerusalem wept, and the dust of Dan trembled. Prophecy begins quietly. It whispers through alignment, separate pieces locked together. Isaiah wrote that Jerusalem would rise from her dust. Ezekiel described stones shaking when glory returned. Few paid attention until cameras caught images of weeping worshipers and moving light. Mainstream news buried the story under politics. But some fragments remained online. A handful of frames showed shadows sliding across the wall in reverse of the sunrise. It looked as if light itself had hesitated. Everyone who lived that dawn remembered the same thought. Something just began. Life continued as if nothing had changed. Markets opened, traffic-filled streets, tourists ate breakfast. Yet under every routine ran the whisper, the countdown has started.
Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awe-inspiring stories of faith, survival, and miracles.
By noon, Rachel Stein reviewed her findings. She ran carbon tests. The metal was ancient, yet clean, too clean. Under magnification, she found scratches that did not belong to any known tool. One word stood out in faint Hebrew letters, until. That single word echoed Luke 21. Jerusalem will be trampled until. She circled it twice and tried to call a colleague in the city. The line was silent except for a distant sound of chanting carried through static. 2 sites, 1 moment, 1 word, until. Perhaps the clock that had stopped 2,000 years ago had just ticked again. Prophecy moves in stages like rising tide, each new wave stronger than the one before. 1948, a nation reborn. 1967, Jerusalem returned. Now the stones move beneath prayers. Every until hides a countdown. Maybe that morning's vibration was the click of divine gears resuming. Night fell. Guards reported nothing unusual, only that cameras glowed on and off without command. Some swore they heard a low hum drifting south toward the sea. In her hotel, Sarah Chen could not sleep. Her hands still tingled. She wrote in her journal, "The stone remembers something." But what? When Earth remembers, what truth is it bringing back? By sunrise, rumors flooded the internet. People called it revival, others called it hysteria. Videos vanished as quickly as they appeared. A single post stayed online long enough for millions to see and echo before deletion. This is the turning of the hinge. The Gentile clock is closing. The Israel clock is waking. The phrase spread in hours. The hinge has turned. If the phrase is right, history has entered transition mode. A door that was shut now stands open, just a crack. In that sliver of light, both truth and imitation stir. And from that mix, forgotten symbols crawl back into daylight. Those bronze coils from Dan were not decoration. They were practice runs, copies of holiness twisted into control. The serpent's pattern has always been imitation, not opposition. When God revives, the counterfeit revives beside him. If holiness awakened Jerusalem that morning, something else woke as its shadow. Light rises, shadow follows its edge, always together, never apart. As night returned, sensors across northern Israel reported faint magnetic ripples. Too light for alarms, but consistent enough to plot on a map. The points drew a line from Dan to Jerusalem. Accidental geometry or plan written beneath generations of dust? Rachel Stein sent her data, but received no reply. Sarah Chen extended her stay. Both women dreamed of serpents buried under streets, singing in the same tone they had heard from the wall. On aerial maps, the excavation sites traced a perfect path toward Jerusalem, an ancient vein reopened after 3,000 years. Prophecy speaks in patterns as much as in words, light against shadow, imitation facing authenticity. Every movement of heaven echoed by its counterfeit. The Hebrew word for serpent, nahash, also means whisper, omen, enchantment. And now the whisper moved again across stones and towers and sleeping rooms. They found it. They had finally found it. When Rachel's crew returned to the trench the next morning, the serpent lay slightly shifted in its pit. New dust had been disturbed. It caught the first light of dawn and reflected 4 fresh words that had not been carved there before. He comes from the north. The team stared. No one spoke. Far away, at the western wall, the hum began again, and the countdown continued. Rachel Stein had brushed dirt from hundreds of objects, but none had looked this awake. The bronze serpent seemed to breathe in rhythm with the desert heat. When her students finished photographing it, she lifted it into a tray lined with soft fabric. Metal should feel cold. This one felt alive, its surface warm like skin left under the sun. She told herself it was conduction. The morning was unreasonably hot. Still, when she held her breath, she thought she heard the faintest ringing, the sound of wind caught inside metal. She sealed it in a container and sighed the way a mother sighs when closing a crib at night. Rising, she looked east. Dust hung over the ridge. Jerusalem shimmered in the distance. "Secure the site," she ordered. Her voice cracked halfway through the words. Back in the tent, equipment flickered. Battery levels dropped for no reason. The laptop clock jumped backward 2 minutes, then forward 3. She checked a second device. Same error. Her assistant, Amir, frowned. "Seismic?" he asked. "No," she said. "Interference." Outside, the desert wind refused to touch the camp flags. Air felt charged, restless. Rachel rubbed grit from her eyes and whispered the line that had been repeating in her head since dawn. "The hinge has turned." In Jerusalem, Sarah Chen carried her notebook to a cafe near Jaffa Gate. The world around her appeared to have forgotten yesterday's strange morning. Tourists bargained. Guides waved flags. Buses hissed along the road. Normal thrummed again. She opened her notes. There were smudges where tears had fallen. Between the scribbles, she had added one phrase overnight, "Countdown in the stones." When she looked at the words, she felt foolish and yet unable to erase them. A waiter approached with tea. He glanced down. "You were at the wall," he said. She nodded. He, tapping his chest, said, "I felt it, even from Mount Zion, like heartbeat far away." Then he left before she could respond, as if speaking it aloud had embarrassed him. She scanned online news. Nothing. Not a single headline. Hashtags from the night before had disappeared. Accounts that posted footage. Blank pages now. Either mass hallucination, she thought, or something too real to be permitted. Her historian's instinct leaned toward the latter. History always hides what it fears. She scribbled, "If nobody is telling the story, I will." By afternoon, Rachel Stein reached Hebrew University. Her email inbox overflowed with system errors, incomplete seismic graphs, corrupted GPS coordinates. None of it made sense. She opened her artifact container. The serpent waited under fluorescent light, duller than in the field, yet still uncomfortably graceful. She placed a meter near it. Every 30 seconds, the needle twitched, an electrical pulse.
She pulled on gloves, set her camera, and leaned close. Between the bronze scales was microscopic etching, barely visible in daylight. Letters repeating along the curve, "Look, and you shall live." Her stomach dropped. Those were the exact words from the Book of Numbers describing Moses' bronze serpent, the one God had commanded to be lifted for healing. Except historians agreed that object had been destroyed under King Hezekiah. If this was truly connected, then prophecy wasn't repeating, it was resurfacing. At that same hour, a theology student named Jonathan Rice watched an amateur live stream showing fragments of the vanished wall footage. Frames looped and pixelated. Each time the camera jolted, he paused it. He noticed the movement across the lower stones wasn't random. The vibration created a pattern, something curved, serpentine, almost identical to Rachel's find. He rewound twice, adjusted contrast, and whispered, "Dan to Jerusalem." He uploaded screenshots to a small prophecy forum. Within minutes, the post filled with comments. "Fake. Real footages were deleted. You're playing with fire." Then his screen went black. When it flashed back, his own post had been removed, username erased. He stared at the monitor, heart racing. The last cursor blink before disappearing had left behind 5 words typed from nowhere. "He comes from the north." Back in the lab, Rachel video called Amir at the site to confirm whether that phrase existed on any artifact. He checked. "Dr. Stein, surface still says the same 4 words we saw, but they look fresher." "Fresher? Like they were etched last hour." She exhaled sharply. "Seal everything. No online uploads." She muted the call and whispered to herself, "I'm talking to an idol." Her rational mind fought back. There must be natural explanations. Oxidation, temperature effect, digital interference. Yet every theory collapsed under the strangeness. She closed her eyes and thought of Sarah Chen's email earlier that morning. "I felt a pulse in the wall. Does that mean anything scientifically?" Rachel hadn't replied. Now she typed one line. "Maybe." Evening spread over Jerusalem. Street vendors packed their stalls. In cafes, televisions replayed political debates while customers scrolled through glowing screens, pretending not to see the sky deepen beyond ordinary blue. Sarah wandered toward the wall again. She expected emptiness. Instead, small groups were praying quietly. Children placed notes into cracks. Candles guttered in corners. As she watched, an old man stepped beside her and murmured, "They heard the call." What call? The same from Mount Sinai, the first trumpet before dawn, the one hearts still remember, though ears forgot. It sounds again when the end begins. Before she could ask more, he disappeared into the crowd. She took out her phone, started recording, and whispered, "If voices rise again, I'll have proof." Her screen glitched, froze on the frame of the wall, gleaming faintly. Then static filled the recording. No sound captured, no proof, only silence that hummed like wind over wires. Rachel stayed awake, scanning inscriptions. She cross-referenced ancient North Israelite scripts. A carving's form matched those used by the tribe of Dan. Dan, first to abandon God's altar, first to substitute imitation worship, first associated with serpents. She leaned back in her chair. "If Dan has spoken," she said aloud, "what is it warning of?" A chime startled her. An encrypted message appeared on her screen from an unknown sender. Text only. "Do not publish. The ground is not done speaking." She stared at those words until the monitor dimmed. Midnight rolled past. At the wall, guards traded shifts. One leaned against the barrier and felt the rhythm under fingertips, too steady to be wind. He listened closer. 4 pulses. Pause. 4 pulses again. He raised his radio. Bass, he said. There's vibration, like heartbeat. Static answered. Then a voice, half buried in noise, whispered, "Count them. Tell me when they stop." He counted to 100. They never stopped. Reports spread quietly among those who study prophecy. Theories multiplied. Electromagnetic fields, geological resonance, mass psychology. But in small prayer rooms, other conversations began. A pastor in Texas claimed he woke at 1 a.m. hearing the phrase, "Look, and ye shall live." A believer in Seoul said she dreamed of bronze light covering Israel. An elderly rabbi in Paris reopened Isaiah chapter 27 and underlined, "In that day the Lord will punish the serpent that flees from the north." 3 witnesses, 3 continents, same night. When Rachel Stein read those accounts the next morning, logic abandoned her for reverence. Coincidence could explain 1 thread, maybe 2, but this was tapestry. She wrote her colleagues, "We may be watching alignment rather than accident." She never pressed send as the Wi-Fi died as she clicked. Sarah Chen woke to pounding on her hotel door. A courier handed her a padded envelope, no return label. Inside, a flash drive and a single note. Someone must keep the record. She plugged it into her laptop, expecting spam. Instead, an image loaded, a rotating 3D scan of Rachel's serpent. At each full rotation, the letters along the coil flared brighter. Hidden among them appeared coordinates extending southward, tracing a path straight toward Jerusalem. Sarah leaned over the keyboard and whispered, "From Dan to the Holy City." The realization chilled her. The artifacts were not scattered idols, they were map markers, something ancient tracing its way back home. She felt suddenly watched. When she glanced at the window, a drone hovered outside the glass for 3 seconds, then rose quickly out of sight. Fear clenched her stomach. Prophecy was never her field, yet she had become part of its delivery. Meanwhile, Rachel drove north to verify the coordinates on the coil's surface. Amir met her at the site gate. "I've kept it sealed," he said. "Good, we need to check alignment."
They laid multiple artifacts in a line, using the printed coordinates. Each serpent faced southwest, straight toward Jerusalem. Amir adjusted his compass. "They point to the Mount of Olives," he said softly. Rachel whispered, "Where prophecy says, feet will stand again." Her voice quivered between dread and awe. She dug another few inches into untouched soil. Something metallic shifted under the spade. Together, they brushed debris away. A second altar stone emerged, circular, carved with patterns resembling scales curling upward. Beneath its surface lay another inscription, newly revealed by light. "Until the serpent is lifted once more." Rachel straightened abruptly. "That's not a warning," she said. "That's instruction." Back in Jerusalem, Sarah emailed a short report to any academic she trusted. Most bounced back. One reached an address listed under an archaeological symposium. Minutes later, an automated reply arrived. "We know. Stay quiet until confirmation. This discovery changes timelines." She read the line 3 times, then deleted it. No one should have that kind of control over truth. She pressed record on her laptop camera and began narrating everything from the first pulse at the wall to the new inscription Rachel had just texted. If she vanished, there would be evidence. Halfway through her statement, every light in the room dimmed.
Captured in multiple videos by residents and shared widely on platforms like X and TikTok 700 years ago, just came alive in Jerusalem. Not symbolically, literally.
700 years of silence had just broken. Jerusalem woke under a sky too perfect, too still, as if creation itself had taken a breath and refused to let it go. Before the first prayer of dawn, something unseen began to move, a faint vibration rolling through the stones of the old city. At first, only one guard felt it. He pressed his hand to the western wall, thinking it was his imagination. Then another felt it, then dozens, then hundreds. Within minutes, the narrow streets filled with people. No bells, no announcements, no alarms, just motion, quiet and certain. They came in robes, in coats, in uniforms, in sandals and sneakers. Nobody told them to be there. Their feet simply obeyed something older than language. By 7 o'clock, nearly 2,000 stood shoulder to shoulder in a plaza made for half that number. No one shouted directions. No one asked why they had come. They only knew they must stand here, together, facing the wall that had seen every age rise and fall. The air thickened, not heavy, but full, the way air feels before thunder. Voices began to rise, bits of worship in French, Korean, English, Arabic, Hebrew. They did not clash, they merged. It was accidental harmony, sound built upon sound, until one deep tone filled the space, long and steady, enough to make hearts pound against ribs. Some later said they felt heat coming from the stones. Others said they felt movement, a heartbeat pulsing under their palms. A tourist whispered that she could feel the city breathing. A physicist visiting from Massachusetts said it reminded him of standing too close to a frequency too low to hear. Then, silence. Not the silence of ending, but the kind that hangs just before revelation. The world recorded no earthquake that morning. No instruments showed any movement, yet thousands stood trembling, certain that the city itself had spoken. Sarah Chen was among them, a historian passing through, not a believer, barely awake. A message had flashed onto her phone before dawn. 3 words, "Come to wall." No sender, no signature. She nearly deleted it, but something in her refused to stay in bed. When she reached the plaza, sunlight was washing over stone. She pushed through the crowd, stretched a hand forward, and touched the wall. Warmth spread through the limestone into her fingertips. For a moment, she thought the stone pushed against her hand in return. She whispered a question that made no sound, and felt an answer in the rhythm of that pulse beneath her skin. North of the city, Rachel Stein was on her knees at a dig site near Dan. She and her students were charting ancient water channels when a shovel hit metal. They brushed away dirt and found bronze, thick and coiled, shaped by deliberate hands. The surface was detailed, the head carved into a serpent with open mouth and visible fangs. Underneath the coils ran ridges that, when cleaned, formed a pattern. Later, they would realize the pattern matched a fragment in Genesis that warned of a coming deception. 3 discoveries in one morning. 0 coincidence. What if Jerusalem had not summoned the world that morning? What if the ground itself had called? For generations, people treated prophecy as metaphor, comfortable stories from long ago. But prophecy does not sleep, it waits. When the right moment arrives, history bends to meet its words. The Bible calls that moment kairos. The world calls it a coincidence. Heaven calls it the schedule. The crowd at the wall trembled. Soldiers on duty stopped speaking. Somewhere over the Mount of Olives, the sun released a sharp